When aliens discovered humans are predators. First contact. The Zephyrian Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Admiral Kextar reviewed the latest intelligence reports from the Outer Rim territories. His 6 eyes scanned the holographic displays showing ship movements near the newly discovered planet designated as Terra 3. The blue and green world had caught their attention 3 cycles ago when their long-range sensors detected unusual electromagnetic signatures. "Admiral, the reconnaissance fleet has returned with disturbing news," reported Captain Valen, her crystalline features reflecting the chamber's bioluminescent lighting. "The inhabitants of Terra 3 are not what we expected." Kextar's mandibles clicked in anticipation. The Zephyrian Empire had encountered dozens of species across the galaxy, most of them peaceful herbivores like themselves. Their advanced technology and diplomatic approach had allowed them to build a vast network of allied worlds, all sharing similar peaceful philosophies. "Show me the recordings," Kextar commanded. The holographic display shifted to show footage from their cloaked observation drones. The scenes that unfolded made several council members recoil in horror. Bipedal creatures with forward-facing eyes moved through dense forests with purpose and coordination. But what shocked the Zephyrians most was watching these beings hunt. A pack of 4-legged creatures fled through the undergrowth while the bipeds pursued them relentlessly. The aliens watched in fascination and terror as the humans used primitive projectile weapons to bring down their prey. The efficiency was brutal, calculated, and utterly foreign to the herbivorous Zephyrians. "By the eternal gardens," whispered Counselor Threen, her voice trembling. "They kill other creatures for sustenance." "Look at their eyes," Captain Valen pointed out, highlighting the footage. "They face forward like those of apex predators. And observe their teeth, clearly designed for tearing flesh." Admiral Kextar studied the data streams flowing beside the video. Intelligence analysis suggests they call themselves humans. Their binocular vision provides exceptional depth perception, perfect for tracking prey. Their endurance levels are remarkable. They can pursue targets for incredible distances. The Council watched more footage showing humans fishing in vast bodies of water, using sophisticated tools to trap aquatic life. Another recording showed them domesticating other predators, wolves that had somehow been turned into loyal companions called dogs. "This is unprecedented," muttered Counselor Zeph. "A species that has not only survived as predators, but thrived to the point of achieving space-worthy technology. How is this possible?" Captain Valen brought up comparative analysis charts. "Our xenobiologists theorize that their predatory nature drove rapid cognitive development. The constant need to hunt, strategize, and compete for resources accelerated their evolution. They developed complex social structures centered around pack hunting." "But look at this," she continued, switching to footage of human settlements. "They've built massive structures, developed agriculture, and created complex societies. They're not just mindless killers. They're intelligent predators who've learned to channel their hunting instincts into civilization building." The footage showed human cities with millions of inhabitants working together in apparent harmony. Yet even in their urban environments, the predatory nature was evident. Humans competed in sports that mimicked hunting scenarios, engaged in complex business competitions, and maintained military forces with weapons far more sophisticated than their primitive hunting tools. "Their military structure is particularly concerning," Admiral Kextar noted, pulling up strategic assessments. "They maintain standing armies across their planet, suggesting a species comfortable with organized violence. Their weapons technology, while primitive by our standards, shows remarkable innovation in destructive capability." Counselor Threen leaned forward, studying the human settlements. "Yet they seem to coexist with domesticated prey species. Look here. They keep creatures called cattle and chickens, specifically for food production. They've industrialized the hunt." This raises serious questions about first contact protocols, Admiral Kextar said gravely. Every species we've encountered has been peaceful by nature. Our standard diplomatic approach assumes mutual understanding based on shared herbivorous instincts. These humans operate on completely different principles. Captain Valen highlighted another section of footage. Sir, there's more. Our analysis of their entertainment media reveals they glorify hunting and conflict. They create stories celebrating warriors and hunters as heroes. Their entire cultural framework is built around competition and dominance. The council fell silent as they absorbed the implications. The Zephyrian Empire's expansion had always been peaceful, based on trade agreements and mutual benefit. They had never encountered a species that might view them as potential prey, rather than trading partners. What about their space capabilities? Asked Counselor Zeph. Primitive but rapidly advancing, Captain Valen reported. They've achieved basic orbital flight and have begun exploring their immediate stellar neighborhood. At their current rate of technological advancement, they could achieve interstellar travel within a few generations. Admiral Kextar's expression grew troubled. A predatory species with space travel capabilities could destabilize the entire galactic community. Imagine if they began hunting other intelligent species across star systems. The implications were staggering. The peaceful coalition of worlds that the Zephyrians had helped build could face an existential threat from a species that viewed conflict as natural and necessary. Sir, Captain Valen added quietly, there's something else. Our analysis of their territorial divisions shows they're currently divided into competing groups called nations. Some of these nations appear more aggressive than others. She brought up a global map showing different regions highlighted in various colors. This continent here, called North America, shows particularly concerning patterns. The nation called the United States demonstrates extremely advanced military technology and appears to have a cultural obsession with individual rights to bear arms. What does that mean exactly? Admiral Kextar asked. It means their civilians are armed predators, sir. Not just their military. Their ordinary citizens possess weapons and are trained to use them. It's as if their entire society is organized around the assumption that conflict is inevitable. The chamber erupted in worried chatter. The idea of an entire civilization of armed predators was beyond anything they had encountered in their galactic surveys. Admiral Kextar raised his appendage for silence. We need to consider our options carefully. Do we make contact and attempt to understand their intentions? Do we maintain surveillance and prepare defensive measures? Or do we alert the Galactic Council and request a fleet presence in this sector? Counselor Threen spoke up. Perhaps we're overreacting. Yes, they're predators, but they've built civilization. Surely they can be reasoned with like any intelligent species. Captain Valen shook her head. With respect, Counselor, our behavioral analysts suggest that reasoning with predators requires understanding their predatory mindset. They don't just think differently from us, they think in ways we've never had to consider. What do you recommend, Captain? Admiral Kextar asked. Extended observation, sir. We need to understand their social structures, their decision-making processes, and most importantly, how they react to unknown threats. Only then can we determine if peaceful contact is possible. Admiral Kextar considered this carefully. The discovery of humanity represented either the greatest challenge or the greatest opportunity in Zephyrian history. A predatory species that had achieved civilization might possess insights and capabilities that could benefit the galactic community, or they might represent a threat that required immediate containment. Very well, he decided. Establish a long-term observation post in the outer system. I want comprehensive behavioral analysis, technological assessment, and cultural evaluation. And prepare a sealed report for the Galactic Council. They need to know what we've discovered. As the council dispersed, Admiral Kextar remained studying the human footage. Something about these creatures both fascinated and terrified him. Their forward-facing eyes seemed to stare directly through the screen, as if they somehow knew they were being watched. Unknown to the Zephyrians, their observation had not gone entirely unnoticed. Deep in the Colorado mountains, a classified military facility had detected unusual readings in the upper atmosphere. The data was anomalous enough to trigger automated alerts, but not significant enough to cause immediate concern. Dr. Sarah Chen, a xenobiologist working for the Department of Defense, was reviewing the atmospheric disturbance reports when she noticed patterns that didn't match any known natural phenomena or human technology. "That's interesting," she murmured, highlighting the electromagnetic signatures. "These readings suggest controlled energy emissions at altitudes impossible for conventional aircraft." She made a note to investigate further, unaware that her simple curiosity had just initiated humanity's first steps toward discovering they were no longer alone in the universe. The predators were about to realize they were being hunted. When aliens discovered humans are predators, the hunt begins. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen in the dimly lit underground facility, coffee growing cold as she analyzed the latest atmospheric readings. 3 weeks had passed since the first anomalous detections, and the patterns were becoming impossible to ignore. The electromagnetic signatures appeared at regular intervals, always at extreme altitude, and always in positions that suggested orbital observation patterns. Area. Run a comparative analysis on these energy signatures against all known natural phenomena and human technology, she commanded the AI system. "Analysis complete, Dr. Chen," the synthetic voice responded. "Probability of natural origin, 0.003%. Probability of known human technology, 0.001%. Recommendation, classification upgrade to Priority Alpha." Sarah's heart raced. Priority Alpha meant potential non-human intelligence. She reached for her secure phone to contact General Harrison when alarms began blaring throughout the facility. "All personnel to stations. We have multiple unidentified contacts at 60,000 feet and climbing." The Situation Room filled rapidly with military personnel and scientists. General Harrison burst through the doors, his weathered face grim with determination. "What do we have, Chen?" he barked. "Sir, the atmospheric disturbances I've been tracking have intensified. Area's analysis suggests non-terrestrial origin with 97% confidence." "Show me," Harrison commanded. The main display showed real-time radar data overlaid with electromagnetic readings. 12 distinct contacts hung motionless at the edge of space, arranged in a perfect observation grid around Earth's major population centers. "They're watching us," Sarah whispered. "Sir, whoever they are, they've been studying us for weeks." General Harrison's jaw tightened. As a career military officer, he understood the implications immediately. Unknown entities with advanced technology conducting surveillance on Earth represented either a first contact scenario or a prelude to invasion. "Get me the president, now." Meanwhile, millions of miles away, Admiral Kextar was reviewing the latest intelligence reports from his observation fleet when Captain Valen rushed into his command chamber. "Admiral, we have a problem. The humans have detected our presence." Kextar's 6 eyes focused on the captain with laser intensity. "Impossible. Our cloaking technology is generations ahead of their primitive sensors." "Sir, that's what we thought. But look at this." Captain Valen activated the holographic display showing Earth's surface. "Military installations across their planet have gone to elevated alert status. Their detection methods are more sophisticated than our initial assessment suggested." The display showed frenzied activity at military bases worldwide. Human aircraft were launching from multiple locations, and ground-based installations were powering up targeting systems. "How did they detect us?" Admiral Kextar demanded. "Our analysis suggests they identified our observation patterns rather than our actual ships. Their scientists noticed the regularity of our electromagnetic emissions and used mathematical models to predict our positions." Admiral Kextar clicked his mandibles in frustration. These predators think like hunters even in scientific endeavors. They look for patterns that indicate the presence of prey or threat. Sir, there's more, Captain Valen continued nervously. Our behavioral analysis team has been studying their military response patterns. The humans aren't just detecting us. They're preparing to hunt us. The holographic display shifted to show satellite imagery of American military installations. Massive aircraft were being wheeled out of underground hangars, while missile silos across the continent showed signs of activation. Look at their response coordination, Captain Valen pointed out. Within hours of detection, they've mobilized resources across their entire planet. Their military infrastructure is designed for rapid response to threats. Admiral Kextar studied the human activity with growing concern. What's their current capability assessment? Their weapons are primitive by our standards, but they're deploying them with remarkable strategic thinking. They've positioned interceptor aircraft at optimal angles for engagement, and their ground-based systems are coordinating targeting solutions. They're trying to corner us, Admiral Kextar realized. Even with inferior technology, they're applying pack-hunting tactics to space combat. The revelation was disturbing. The Zephyrians had vastly superior technology, but they had never developed military thinking beyond basic defensive systems. Their peaceful nature meant they lacked the predatory instincts necessary for complex tactical planning. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from the planet's surface, reported Communications Officer Zethan. The humans are attempting to establish contact. Put it through, Admiral Kextar ordered. The command center filled with the sound of human voices speaking in multiple languages. The translation systems worked to decode the messages, displaying them as text on the screens. Unknown vessels, this is Earth Defense Command. You are in violation of sovereign airspace. Identify yourselves immediately or face defensive action. Admiral Kextar felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. The humans weren't just detecting them. They were issuing ultimatums. No species in the galactic community had ever responded to first contact with threats. Sir, Captain Valen said urgently, their military formations are moving into attack positions. I don't think they're bluffing. Impossible, Admiral Kextar replied. They must realize we have superior technology. This must be some form of territorial display behavior. Admiral, with respect, I don't think they care about our technological advantage. Look at their historical records. Captain Valen brought up files from their Earth observation database. These humans regularly engage in conflicts where they're outnumbered or outgunned. They call it asymmetric warfare, and they've developed extensive tactical doctrine around defeating superior enemies. The files showed human military history spanning thousands of years. Countless examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through cunning, determination, and willingness to accept massive casualties in pursuit of victory. They don't just fight when they can win, Captain Valen explained. They fight when they believe fighting is necessary, regardless of the odds. Admiral Kextar felt something he'd never experienced before, genuine fear of another species. The humans weren't just predators. They were predators who had learned to hunt prey much larger and more dangerous than themselves. Sir, incoming transmission from the Galactic Council, reported Communications Officer Zethan. Priority emergency channel. The holographic display shifted to show Council Chancellor Vexithari, her usually composed demeanor showing signs of strain. Admiral Kextar, we've received your preliminary report on the Terra 3 inhabitants. The Council has voted to authorize immediate intervention if these creatures pose a threat to galactic stability. Chancellor, the situation is more complex than our initial assessment suggested, Admiral Kextar replied. The humans have detected our presence and are preparing what appears to be a military response. Are you requesting support? Chancellor Vexithari asked. Admiral Kextar hesitated. Requesting military support would acknowledge that his advanced fleet was potentially threatened by primitive humans. But the alternative might be worse. Chancellor, I recommend extreme caution. These creatures don't think like any species we've encountered. They view detection of their planet as an act of aggression, and they're responding accordingly. What are their capabilities? Primitive but dangerous. They lack our technology but possess tactical thinking we've never had to counter. They're predators who've learned to hunt prey much more powerful than themselves. Chancellor Vexithari's expression grew grave. Admiral, you are authorized to take whatever action necessary to protect the observation fleet, but avoid direct conflict if possible. The Council needs more information before determining our long-term response to this species. The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Kextar alone with his terrifying realization. For the first time in Zephyrian history, they had encountered a species that might actually be more dangerous than they appeared. Back on Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen was coordinating with military commanders worldwide as humanity prepared for its first interstellar conflict. Dr. Chen, General Harrison called out, "What's your assessment of their technology?" "Sir, based on the electromagnetic signatures, they're using energy systems we can't even theorize about yet. But they've made one crucial mistake." "What's that?" Sarah smiled grimly. "They underestimated human paranoia. We've been preparing for this scenario since the 1940s. Every major military power has contingency plans for hostile extraterrestrial contact. And? Sir, they're not the only ones who've been hunting. We've been preparing to hunt them right back." General Harrison nodded. "Good. Because whatever they are, they just picked a fight with the wrong species." Above Earth's atmosphere, the Zephyrian observation fleet hung in the darkness, suddenly feeling less like hunters and more like prey. The predators of Earth had detected them, and now they were about to learn what made humans the most dangerous species in the galaxy. When aliens discovered humans are predators. The American response. The Pentagon War Room hummed with activity as military leaders from around the world participated in the emergency video conference. President Martinez sat at the head of the table, her expression calm despite the magnitude of the situation. General Harrison stood beside a massive display showing the positions of the alien vessels. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing an unprecedented situation," President Martinez began. 12 alien vessels are conducting surveillance of our planet. While they haven't initiated hostile action, their presence represents a potential threat to global security. The Chinese premier spoke first through the video link. "Madam President, China proposes a coordinated diplomatic approach. Perhaps these visitors come in peace." President Martinez nodded respectfully. "Premier Chen, while diplomacy remains our preferred option, we must also prepare for the possibility that peaceful intentions are not their goal." The Russian president leaned forward on his screen. "The motherland agrees with defensive preparations. But what capabilities do we actually possess against such advanced technology?" General Harrison stepped forward. "Sir, while their technology appears superior, we have advantages they may not expect. Dr. Chen, please brief our allies on Project Longbow." Dr. Sarah Chen moved to the display, her earlier nervousness replaced by focused determination. "Project Longbow is a classified program we've been developing since the late 1960s. The assumption was simple. If we ever encountered hostile extraterrestrial intelligence, their technology would likely be superior to ours." The display showed technical schematics of various weapons systems and defensive platforms. Rather than try to match their technology, we focused on exploiting weaknesses common to all technology. Electromagnetic pulse weapons, gravitational disturbance generators, and most importantly, kinetic interceptors designed to overwhelm any defensive system through sheer volume and unpredictability. The British Prime Minister raised an eyebrow. "Kinetic interceptors? Think of it as throwing rocks, sir, but very precisely and very fast," General Harrison explained. "Sometimes the oldest solutions are the most effective against advanced technology." President Martinez stood and moved to a detailed tactical display. "The alien vessels are positioned in standard observation patterns, which tells us they're confident in their superiority. That confidence may be their weakness." "How so?" asked the Japanese Prime Minister. They're thinking like scientists conducting an experiment, Dr. Chen explained. But we're thinking like what we are, apex predators who've been cornered. There's a difference in mindset that we can exploit. The French president frowned. This all sounds very aggressive. Perhaps we should attempt communication first? We tried, General Harrison replied grimly. They ignored our transmissions completely. Either they can't understand us or they don't consider us worth responding to. President Martinez's expression hardened. Which brings us to the uniquely American perspective on this situation. She gestured to a map showing military installations across the United States. Every other nation on this call has had to consider invasion by neighboring countries, foreign armies crossing your borders, occupying your cities. America is different. How so? Asked the German Chancellor. America has never been successfully invaded by a foreign military force. We've never had to surrender our sovereignty to occupying forces. Our entire military doctrine, our national psyche, is built around the idea that American territory is inviolable. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. These alien vessels are in our airspace without permission, President Martinez continued. From an American legal perspective, they've already committed an act of war. Our response is going to reflect that reality. General Harrison activated another display showing real-time military movements across the continental United States. While our allies prepare diplomatic solutions, America is preparing to demonstrate why invading Earth was a mistake. The display showed massive military mobilization. Air Force bases from coast to coast were launching aircraft in coordinated formations. Naval vessels were moving into position in both the Atlantic and Pacific. Most alarming to the international observers, dozens of previously unknown installations were coming online. General, the Canadian Prime Minister asked carefully, what exactly are those installations? Classified defense platforms that most Americans don't even know exist, General Harrison replied. We call them Patriot Shields. They're designed to defend American airspace against any threat, terrestrial or otherwise. Dr. Chen brought up technical specifications that made several foreign leaders lean forward in concern. The Patriot Shield network consists of 47 underground facilities equipped with directed energy weapons, kinetic bombardment systems, and electromagnetic warfare capabilities. You built weapons specifically to fight aliens? The Russian president asked, a mixture of admiration and concern in his voice. We built weapons to defend America against any threat that might emerge, President Martinez corrected. The fact that aliens happen to show up just means those weapons are about to be field-tested. The alien vessels, still hanging silently in space, had no idea what was about to hit them. Admiral Kextar was reviewing updated intelligence reports when every alarm system on his flagship began screaming simultaneously. The command deck erupted into chaos as sensor operators struggled to process the incoming data. Admiral! Captain Valen shouted over the noise. The humans are launching some kind of coordinated attack! Impossible, Admiral Kextar replied, but his confidence was shaken as the tactical display showed the scope of human mobilization. They can't possibly reach us at this altitude. Sir, they're not trying to reach us directly, the sensor operator reported. They're launching what appears to be a massive cloud of projectiles into our general vicinity. Admiral Kextar studied the display in confusion. Thousands of small objects were racing toward their position from multiple directions. What kind of weapons are those? Sir, they appear to be simple kinetic projectiles. Bits of metal and ceramic moving at extremely high velocity. That's primitive nonsense, Admiral Kextar scoffed. Our defensive shields can handle simple projectiles. Admiral, Captain Valen said urgently, there are over 10,000 individual projectiles incoming. Even if our shields stop 99% of them, the remainder could cause damage. And, sir, the sensor operator added, they're not all coming from the same direction. The humans have calculated firing solutions from multiple angles simultaneously. Admiral Kextar felt his confidence evaporating as he realized what the humans had done. Instead of trying to match Zephyrian technology, they had overwhelmed it with sheer numbers and tactical coordination. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered, but it was too late. The first wave of projectiles struck the fleet's defensive shields like a metallic hailstorm. The shields held, but the energy drain was enormous. Before the Zephyrians could recover, the second wave arrived from a completely different angle. "Shield generators at 60% capacity," reported the engineering officer. "How many waves are there?" Admiral Kextar demanded. "Sir, our analysis suggests the humans launched a continuous barrage designed to last for approximately 27 minutes. Each wave is coming from a different trajectory." Admiral Kexatar realized with growing horror that the humans had turned their entire planet into a weapons platform. Every military installation, every naval vessel, even civilian facilities with sufficient launch capability were participating in a coordinated bombardment designed to exhaust the fleet's defenses through attrition. "Sir, incoming transmission from the surface," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Admiral Kextar ordered. President Martinez's voice filled the command deck, calm and utterly implacable. "Unknown vessels, this is the President of the United States of America. You are in violation of sovereign American airspace and, by extension, sovereign Earth airspace. You have 30 seconds to begin immediate withdrawal to beyond lunar orbit, or we will demonstrate why invading America has never ended well for anyone." Admiral Kextar stared at the display, showing the relentless barrage of projectiles. "They're not just threatening us," he realized. "They're demonstrating capability while giving us a chance to retreat." "Sir," Captain Valen said quietly, "the humans are showing us they can hurt us while offering us a way out. That's actually quite sophisticated." "It's predator behavior," Admiral Kextar replied, understanding flooding over him. "They're establishing dominance without committing to a fight to the death. They're giving us a chance to submit." The thought was alien and terrifying to the Zephyrian mind. No herbivorous species had ever conceived of warfare as a form of communication. "Admiral," the engineering officer reported, "shields are down to 30%. If this bombardment continues, we'll start taking hull damage within minutes." Admiral Kextar looked around his command deck at the faces of his crew. They were scientists and explorers, not warriors. They had no experience with the kind of violence humans apparently considered routine. "Signal the fleet," he ordered reluctantly. "Begin withdrawal to lunar orbit." "Sir, the Galactic Council will demand an explanation," Captain Valen warned. "The explanation is simple," Admiral Kextar replied, watching as the human bombardment immediately ceased the moment his fleet began moving. "We've discovered a species that treats warfare as diplomacy by other means. They didn't attack us to destroy us. They attacked us to communicate." As the Zephyrian fleet retreated beyond the moon, Admiral Kextar composed his report to the Galactic Council. The humans weren't just predators. They were predators who had learned to use controlled violence as a form of negotiation. Back on Earth, President Martinez watched the alien vessels disappear beyond lunar orbit and allowed herself a small smile. "General Harrison," she said, "prepare a follow-up message for our visitors." "What should it say, Madam President?" "Welcome to Earth. Next time, please call ahead." Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her monitoring station. "Madam President, they're maintaining position at lunar orbit. They're not leaving the system." "Good," President Martinez replied. "That means they're smart enough to know when they've been beaten, but practical enough to know when they've been offered a chance to negotiate." "What makes you think they want to negotiate?" General Harrison asked. "Because they're still here, General. If they wanted a fight, they would have fought. If they wanted to leave, they would have left. They're staying because they want to understand us." President Martinez looked out at the night sky, knowing that humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most American way possible, by shooting first and asking questions later, but leaving room for diplomacy afterward. Dr. Chen, prepare a cultural briefing for our guests. If they want to understand humanity, they're going to need to learn why Americans don't negotiate from a position of weakness. And if they don't want to negotiate? General Harrison asked. President Martinez's expression turned cold as winter steel. Then they'll learn why every empire in human history that tried to conquer America ended up regretting it. In the darkness beyond the moon, Admiral Kextar was beginning to understand that humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic civilization. A species of predators who had learned to hunt the hunters themselves.